Hi, welcome to Live Right Tonight. My name is Brandi, and I have the pleasure with Tony Hoffman here. And how are you doing today, Tony?
I'm well. I'm well. The weather's finally warming up here in Texas, and my travel schedule is starting to get packed. So I'm looking forward to being on the road and seeing you guys soon. But thank you for having me here virtually to share some insight of my story and experiences.
Absolutely. We don't want to get too entailed because we want everybody to come see you in person for our Spring Spectacular, March 21st, Tuesday, from 5 to 9 at the Italian American Culture Center. I am so excited to actually finally meet you at that time.
Yes,
Um, Please, if you don't mind, can you tell us a little about yourself?
sure. So I'm originally from California, now located in Dallas. I tell people the part of California that I came from is not where the beaches are. 30% of the world's ag produce comes from 150-mile radius around my hometown. So a lot of farms, and I grew up in a small town community. And through a lot of my experiences that we're going to talk about, it led me to a place of serving others and serving others, whether it was through coaching BMX, starting a nonprofit for kids, my speaking, or my treatment center that I have out in California. My main focuses now, though, are speaking and my treatment center, PH Wellness.
Okay. Yes, I did. I did do a little bit of research on where your treatment center is, and it looks gorgeous. It looks like it's all like woods around there. It is
Yeah,
beautiful. It is
it's an amazing
absolutely
spot.
beautiful. And one thing I do know that you have been in readmission since May 17th, 2007. Am I correct?
Yes, that's correct. So I'm coming up on 16 years in May.
That's
Yeah,
awesome. Congratulations.
thank you.
That's a huge achievement.
Yeah.
So, one thing I do know is that, with you with VMX, and then you being in recovery at this time, you had a knee injury in 2011.
Mhm.
One thing I wanted to actually touch base with you on, with you being in recovery and having that knee injury, what did you do?
Yeah. So earlier in my story, when I was like 21 years old, I had a surgery on my hand. I had actually gotten in a fight. I knocked this guy's tooth out, and I have this big scar right here now where they had to cut this infection out of my hand where I didn't clean it well enough, and I almost lost my arm from the infection that was so bad. I took the pain medication that they gave me, and it really kickstarted my addiction all over again, and it sent me back out. I couldn't stop the cravings. It really just started everything over. Fast forwarding, when I did the knee surgery, I was, I think, 28 years old, and it was November of 2011. And I knew that I didn't want to chance taking the pain medication when I did my knee surgery because of what had happened with my hand. And so I had actually denied all the medication that they would provide you for surgery. In fact, I tried to deny the anesthesia. I just preferred to be awake for it and not asleep. But it turns out you have to legally they have to put you to sleep. And
Okay.
so they put me to sleep with the anesthesia. But they, before it was so interesting to me because before the surgery, a nurse came in and said, "We're going to give you Versed and fentanyl before we give you the anesthesia." And I said, I don't want either one of those. And she goes, "No, it's standard procedure. We give you these. It makes you more comfortable." And I was like, "Yeah, but I don't want that." Versed is basically liquid Xanax. So they were going to basically sedate me or put me in a state where I was under the influence of liquid Xanax and opioids to relax me for the surgery, when in fact I didn't need to be relaxed. I
Right.
wasn't
You're like,
asking
I
to be
got this.
relaxed. Yeah, I'm fine. Like, I'm an action sports guy. Like, this is what we do. I was telling my significant other not too long ago, I raced with a broken wrist. I had, we cut my casts so I could hold the handlebar and race. Like, that's just what we do in the
Yeah.
realm of sports that I come from. And so, immediately they wanted to give me these substances that I wasn't comfortable with. I denied them. And they said, "Well, we're going to give you fentanyl right before you wake up." And I said, "No, I don't want that either." And she's like, "You have to take that one." And I was like, "No, I don't. Like, we just won't do the surgery if that's what you're telling me." And she's like, "Well, okay, well, let me go talk to your surgeon." Surgeon comes in and he's like, look, I've never seen anybody do this without any pain medication. Like, you're going to be in a lot of pain. And I was like, dude, I'm not taking the pain meds. Like, what happened to me with my hand is not going to happen to me with my knee. Like, I'm telling you, I'll be all right. When I woke up from the surgery, oh my God,
The pain.
the pain was so bad. Like, because they drill into your femur. I had an
Right.
ACL. I snapped my ACL. So they drill into my
Okay.
femur. They drill into your tibia, the head of your tibia, and the head of your femur, and then they screw in another ligament that they take from a cadaver. While they're doing that, there's all types of drilling and screwing, and it's just not, if you watch a surgery, it's not like they're in there being careful. It's a very
Right.
aggressive surgery. And when I woke up, I felt like somebody was smashing my knee with like a sledgehammer. Like the
Oh,
throbbing was so deep. And I remember I couldn't breathe. I was like, oh my God, I can't breathe. I can't breathe. And I'm like, excruciating pain. And then the nurse is like, take the pain meds. You need to take the pain meds. And I'm like, I can't take the pain meds. Stop telling me that. Because there was a side of me that's saying, take the pain meds.
right.
Right. That you know that you can get rid of this pain with this little guy on the shoulder saying, just take the pain meds and the pain is all gone. But the other side is saying, if you take the pain meds, this could start everything all over and you're going to lose your ability to help other people. That was the one thing that pushed me through this situation. And I was like, I can't take the pain meds. And she's like, you're in a different place spiritually, emotionally, and physically. Just take the pain meds. Which at that time, we're talking about 2011, and even our understanding of addiction and people in recovery at that time was very small. And so we had a nurse that made a very ignorant statement, is that it was kind of the stigma of, I just didn't know my limits
Hmm.
when I was younger, right? I just didn't have the willpower because of the structure in my life at that time, wasn't in a place to just say, okay, I'm not going to do this, or it's only going to be one time.
Right.
And which was a mistake on her part because she didn't understand really what was going on with me, how my brain was wired, and how this thing could really be a catalyst to sending me, kind of, so to speak, off a cliff
Spiral
again.
out.
And I said, go get my dad. And she said, I can't get your dad. And I started screaming at her. I was like, go get my dad. Because I didn't need her to be quiet. So my dad comes in. Finally, she gets my dad. And my dad says, what do you want to do? I said, I can't take the pain meds. I said, if I take the pain meds, um, I don't think a kid will ever get to hear my story ever again. Because at that time, I was speaking to only young people, right? And my dad said, son, if you don't want to take the pain meds, then don't take the pain meds. And then my dad's, he's a hip boomer that says, well, I Googled that if you listen to music, it'll create the adrenaline that acts as a painkiller. And so we walked out of there. Did no pain meds. And about 8 hours later, after being in excruciating pain, I took Tylenol. They allowed me to take Tylenol, and I was willing to take that.
Mhm.
The pain just went from like 100 to like 9.
That's
A
awesome.
week a week later, I was on a road bike. A week later, I was under a squat rack. I had like full range of motion in my knee. Like 3 weeks later, I just got right back into my routine. So I didn't take the pain meds because I didn't want to risk going back out. But I never had fun out there. My run of fun using was very, very short. A lot of people talk about how much fun they had, and they're still not done having fun. I didn't have much fun, and by the time it was over, I never wanted to go back.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something that was another from watching some of your speeches. You you said something along the lines when you were incarcerated that that wasn't the hardest part. It was being
No.
homeless was the hardest part. And I could definitely agree with you because being incarcerated, you had a bed, you had heat, water, a toilet,
Mhm.
food. Out there, it's like you're in your
Yeah,
cell.
it's an interesting concept because when people come to treatment or they go to become incarcerated, they have structure. Humans thrive in structure. When we think about raising little kids, what do we know about raising little kids? Little kids' behavior is often a result of structure or lack thereof when they're younger. There's a gray area, obviously, everything's not
100%.
black and white. But when I got there, that's what I had: a bed to sleep in, pot to piss in, and food, and a shower. And I knew what time the lights were turning on, and I knew what time the lights were turning off, and I knew what time I was getting fed. And so in that environment, I was able to start setting myself up to change my life, where I couldn't put, I couldn't create at that time when I was homeless, and before then when I was struggling with my addiction and my mental health. I couldn't in my own self create the structure for my life that I needed to thrive. So when I got put in that environment, I now had a forced structure on my life that I could build in these things that I could control. And if you've heard my story, like brushing my teeth and making my bed
Yes.
and learning how to organize my stuff, right? The reason that I was able to do that was because I was given an opportunity to have forced structure in my life that I could work within those confines that really kind of set me up to propel myself forward from that point.
Right. And I do have to mention, um, I've noticed that you said it in a few of them, and honestly, I love this saying that you said that you seen on the wall when you laid down. It was be careful for what you think because your thoughts become your words. Be careful for what you say because your words become your actions. I love that. And I've
Yeah.
noticed that you always say that in a
Yep.
lot of your speeches. Do
I
you
say it in every one, almost
you
every
do?
one.
And
Just
I'm like, I love it. Like it literally stuck with me and I had to like write it down. I'm like, I love that because it's so true. How
yeah.
those words, what does that make you feel? Like what does that do for you?
For me, it was the blueprint, right? It was I didn't understand at that time within myself the process of either complete self depreciation and demoralization, and then having the process the process to self-worth, value, compassion, love, and these qualities that are very empowering. So when I read that quote, it was a light in a very dark tunnel for myself, because I didn't know which way was north and I didn't know which way was south. But when I read that quote, it was like the light shined at the end of the tunnel that said, go this way. And then along my journey through that tunnel towards that light, there was these many tidbits of information and wisdom that I would pick up, and I would learn, okay, this is what it takes to continue moving down this way into this tunnel towards the light. And then once I got closer to the light and I'm still not there, I'm there's more to my character than I'm receiving.
Right.
And that more, the more I receive, the more I'm able to give to others. And that's really where the love piece comes in, not of only self, but others.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, when I constantly heard you saying that in your speeches, I was like, I really like that. Like I had to write
Yeah.
it down. I'm like, I like that. Like it did something to me. I don't know what it did, but it stuck. It stuck. I
Yeah.
like it. And I'm glad that you said it because like honestly, like I said, it stuck to me.
Yeah.
Um, you were talking about stigmas. Now, what do you think that we can do, or how can we do better? What can we do better to break the stigma of the
Sure.
addiction of all of it?
One of my big things that I'm speaking a lot on the road is really kind of stigma related stuff. And I try to tell people, we're playing a big game of changing vocabulary, which I think is great in some cases, right? I don't really like people being called junkies, and
Right.
I don't like people being called crackheads. I think that we're at a place in our lives where we don't need to be calling people those types of things anymore. And you could say that about the word addict as well, right? However, I've never met anybody that didn't get sober because somebody called them an addict. I've met people that haven't gotten sober because they don't have adequate infrastructure to help them get sober. I've met many people who were forced to do 3 years in a penitentiary because they had a half a gram of cocaine instead of going to a treatment center. And so what I try to say is, look, we can change the vocabulary, and some of these are great changes. But if we don't change the infrastructure and the services that we provide and what we have available to people who are struggling with mental health and addiction, then we're really not changing the biggest perpetuator of stigma.
Right.
which is the infrastructure that says we don't care about you. It's the school system that takes individuals that have been quietly sexually abused as youth that show up in a classroom at 12 years old, struggling with their behavior and their substance use that they've already developed as a coping skill to get through the emotions that come with a traumatic experience like sexual abuse. And then
Hmm.
we kick them out of school.
Right.
We tell them you have no value here when they already feel they have no value at home because of something that's happening to them or the trauma that they're receiving as victims. Then they come to school, and then we confirm through the infrastructure that we're not here to support you. You're here to be here as a part of a system. And if you can't perform as the system expects, then you can leave. Well, what are we telling this person? We're telling the person that society and the infrastructure doesn't actually care about this person and what they're experiencing, which further makes them feel that they have no value. They should love no one, trust no one. No one will ever love them. And then they get into the justice system,
Hmm.
and they get into the adult system in which it's just a trap door, an evolving door in which the infrastructure isn't necessarily adequate enough to make that person or help that person make the changes. So I always tell people vocabulary is great and let's change that. But the biggest perpetuator of stigma is infrastructure. And we need a more robust system that understands behavior and psychology and can actually meet people where they're at to help them.
Right. Definitely. Absolutely. Especially, I do see that a lot with, kids these days, they just, and then especially with like all these shootings and whatnot, it's like, do you not, like, you just push these children aside and you don't ask them, are you okay? What can we do to help you? What, and it's sad
Yeah,
because they just set them aside and they just don't feel anything. Like they don't feel that anybody's out there to help them.
right.
And, and that's really sad. And, I'm grateful for what we do here, because we let them know that we're here. And, we try, our hardest to make them feel that we care, because we do.
Yeah.
We genuinely we care,
Mhm.
and yeah, no, I definitely agree with you. And one other thing, what kind of, because I don't want to get too crazy with all this, because I do want people to come and see you at the Spring Spectacular. So I don't want to get too involved. So I am going to keep some of my questions short. um, if there is anything, any kind of advice that we can give to those that are still out there struggling with life and with not having the people that they need, or the addiction, the process of all of it, what do you think that we like, what would you say to those people that are out there that are going to see this and they feel like nobody has my story, nobody understands what I'm going through? What would you say?
So I had a man leave my treatment center just this week, and he relapsed immediately. And I got on the phone with him, and he was explaining to me that he couldn't do this, and that he was worthless, and he was never going to get things right. And why do I want to talk to him? Um, because he's basically a POS. And I explained to him that we have to surrender those ideas. We have to surrender those beliefs. That anytime we think something about ourselves or others, it's based on an experience that created a belief. And that belief became an idea that we put into practice, just like any other type of idea that we can put into practice. And the more we practice it, just like the quote said, watch your thoughts become your words, watch your words, they become your actions become your habits. What you
Mhm.
do on a daily basis, when things become a habit, once you practice it enough, it's instinct. Just like if I threw a baseball at you right now, you're going to either move or catch it and stop it. That's an instinct that you develop through experience, right? Because somebody
Yeah.
once played catch with you, you couldn't figure out how to catch it. It hit you in the head. And then eventually you figured out how to use the instinct of reaction. The instinct and idea that you have no worth, nobody will understand you, I'm all alone, I can't ever do this. These were ideas that you developed through experience that became the belief of who you are, what you can do in the world. You have to surrender that. You have to be able to say, I feel like I can't do this, but I'm going to listen to Brenda. I feel like this is never going to work, but I'm still going to show up to live right. I feel like nobody loves me. Even when Brenda tells me she loves me, I don't feel it. But I'm just going to listen to what Brenda says because maybe I have it wrong. Right? When we surrender these ideas and we surrender these beliefs and we put ourselves in positions to be around places like Live Right or treatment centers, or social workers that are, really pouring their life into helping other people, if we take the suggestions that come with those locations and that infrastructure or those people, over time, we start to see that new ideas replace old and new behaviors start to replace the old, and then you become a new person. But until you surrender, you're only going to believe what you already believe in this moment, because it's not as easy as snapping your fingers and changing everything. So you surrender, and over time, by subjecting yourself to new ideas, new people, new principles, and new behaviors, that then things change.
Right. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. But like I said, I do want to keep a lot of this for the Spring Spectacular, and I'm so excited to meet you and hear more for what you have to say. I can ask you 1,000 questions, and like I said, I want to save them. So, again, I want to appreciate you for taking the time out to doing this podcast with me and to tell people that, we're all here and we're all here together. It's not a
Mhm.
you, it's not a me, it's a we thing. And congratulations on 17 years. That is awesome.
Almost 16. Don't give me too
Oh,
much.
16. I thought 17.
Almost,
Okay.
almost. I'm not there
Hey,
yet.
I,
15
I,
and
I
a half.
got you. I got
Thanks.
faith. But again, I really appreciate you, and I can't wait to see you for the Spring Spectacular March 21st. And we'll be hearing more from you.
Awesome. I appreciate you, Brenda. Thanks, everyone. Live Right. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here today and with you guys in March.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.